All right, TJ,
Ooh,
if you
man.
can, man, finish your story.
So you made it to the military.
Made it to the military, paid off your debts.
So, all
For the
right,
fourth time.
I came back from Circleville from the Bible College and went to go to Del Tech for architecture. And I did most of that.
Did you pay that off?
That was pretty. It was $2,700.
That's what I'm saying. Like
That's wild, dude.
yeah, that's the difference.
And well, I've been reading blueprints since I was like 5 years old. It's a family business and everything like that. So architecture and college was super easy. Like I already knew how to do drafting. I already knew how to do. So it was just learning the new ways and new tools and all that. And so anyway, I did really well at that. But in December of that semester, or of the next year after I get done to college and all that stuff, I didn't finish the college. I went just so I could learn the drafting and stuff. And
how many colleges have you started and not?
No. This man's been to every college on the East Coast.
well, to be fair, I went knowing and intentionally not wanting to get a degree.
I do get
Fair
the
enough.
drafting.
Wanted to
That makes
learn
sense.
practical things. And so that December, I got a wild hair and I decided that, I'm tired of seeing all this fighting and I can do it. So I decided to join the Marine Corps. Well,
Hoorah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Hey.
Hey, I stole that from Dustin. I use it now. Thank you, Farmer Doug.
Finish these off. I'm gonna die if I keep eating them. I'm gonna die.
I really will die.
Are you diabetic?
Close enough.
I haven't had a piece of candy in like 3 months.
Ooh, beast candy.
Like 3 months before I joined, my buddy Joe, which is Pastor Paul's son, my best friend, that was the son, he joined the Marine Corps. 3 months later, I joined. I made the decision, and then 10 days later, I was shipped off.
Dude.
I was ready to go, and they needed number. It's the Marine Corps recruiters.
What year?
This was the end of 2006. That was when they were trying to push to raise the numbers of Marines, because normally their operating force is 175,000, which the Army laughs at that because the Army's like 1 million strong.
Right.
And they wanted to go from 175,000 to 202,000. So they were moving people faster just to have a
202 though. Like, where do they get that number? Like let's get 200,000.
well, it's you base it on
Yeah.
what ratios get you certain people. In
I guess they
certain,
did math.
Yeah, like which makes no sense. Marines can't; they're too dumb. I mean, I guess they have a calculator.
It's like, you got any student loan debt? Come on, come on, bring your baggage.
They're like
David.
They're like, hey Navy, hey, we need you to do some math for us. Tell us how much we need. And so I joined. In that time frame, it was really easy to get in and quick to ship out if you wanted to. Like now, if you join, you're going to wait 6 to 8 months before you ship out because the numbers.
Right.
They don't really need it.
Exactly. So, I don't know. Right now, they're crippled. Right now, they're begging for people.
Right.
You think the draft will happen?
I don't know. It just kind of depends. There's less of a need for a ground fighting force than there used to be. So it's hard to say.
I think there's a lot. You got to jump through a lot of different hoops and stuff before we're in the need of a draft.
Yeah, a lot of stuff has to happen.
A lot of stuff's got to go down before they start calling.
Yeah. So I joined 3 months after my buddy Joe. I get to the fleet. I go through everything, go through boot camp. I signed with a recon option. So if I graduate from the recon school, I get $10,000. I didn't even go. So I join and I get out and I decide I wanted to be a machine gunner in School of Infantry. Well, my buddy Joe, he gets home and I find out, I'm like, hey, dude, what did you end up doing? He goes, machine gunner. Like, we didn't even know. We both ended up being machine gunner.
Oh, really?
And machine gunner makes up like 0.01% of the Marine Corps.
Yeah, my older brother did. I'm not sure exactly what he did. I know he ran the gun on the truck.
Mhm.
I assume that's the
gunner.
Okay, that's what he
But
did.
you don't necessarily have to be a machine gunner to be a gunner.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. But I'm trained. I know the weapon systems. I know how to use them. I know everything. I take them apart, put them back together, inside and out. A lot of times the gunner knows that weapon. He's taught how to shoot it and how to fix a problem, and that's it. because you don't have as many machine gunners as you
Right.
have trucks that need the guns.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I joined, went through boot camp. That was fine. Boot camp was easier than I expected it to be. I know that sounds crazy for the Marines, but I had the mindset of this is going to be the worst thing any human can ever go through.
Right. That's how you have to.
So then when it fell short of that,
Then you're like, I can do anything.
then it was a lot easier.
Hardest
Right.
thing you ever did boot camp? No. 8 weeks, right?
Oh, it's 13.
Yeah, it's 3 months.
That's what the math is. About 12 weeks, 13 weeks.
Physically, yeah. Physically, I'd say it was the hardest thing.
What was so hard about it? If you go to the gym every day, and then
your body never has time to recover.
they just keep pulling it out of you.
Like now they call it forming, the first phase. For the first few weeks, you're not even allowed to run. Walk fast, don't run. That's what they say. So you have to walk with a sense of urgency. As soon as you start running, you're getting in trouble because they know that.
This is why I wanted Dustin to be here for this.
Yeah.
For the boot camp thing. So you
There's
can both
such
bounce
a
it
difference.
off. Oh, is there?
Oh, yeah.
I guess between the different branches for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Not
that
like Marines is supposed to be a little bit harder, right?
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Each branch makes fun of the others for sure.
Yeah.
Which I mean, and it's all fun, but
It
like,
is fun, yeah.
But ultimately, when you look at like the different branches, like there's different branches
I thought
because
the
they're
Air
supposed
Force
to.
was supposed to be like the hardest. I'm not being smart.
No, not even close.
No. Yeah, I think
pretty
like the
sure
physical requirement
No,
is you have to be able to ride a bike.
It
It's
is,
like
it
something.
is.
No, I'm pretty sure. I can't keep a straight face. I'm just joking.
See, he doesn't tell good jokes. That's why he didn't understand.
I literally
Yeah,
could not.
dude, I couldn't read the room.
I could not keep it going.
I come from I wouldn't say I come from a military family, but not everybody, but I have every branch in my family. Like my grandfather was
cool.
Navy. My dad was Air Force. Both my older brother and my younger brother are Marines.
Smart guys.
Army's the only one.
Well, you're in the army of the Lord,
I'm a soldier of the Lord.
soldier of the cross. You're the only one that's preaching a youth rally next week.
That's true.
Where 4 people get saved.
Stop. No, sorry. You're the only one who preached youth rally 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Last week.
Well, this will be 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, time is weird.
Wow.
But yeah,
Anyways,
it's
Continue, TJ.
we'll at some point maybe we'll have another
Yeah.
one with Dustin here.
We'll have
but
you back.
the big thing,
It took us a year and a half to get you on. About 2 more years. We'll
Right.
get you back on.
The biggest difference is it's every Marine is a rifleman. That's their thing.
Right.
Like, so boot camp is the same for everybody, knowing that there may come a time when somebody that's legal admin has to pick a rifle up.
Right.
We look at it as a joke, but in reality, when push comes to shove, they've got some training. The Army, though, the boot camp is a lot easier, knowing that there's so many different.
They're going to branch off, and some are going to be paper pushers.
So Dustin, for example, he's infantry. His boot camp was pretty easy, but then he got sent to a specialized school after that.
Right. But the general push was easier. Your general push was more
the gateway.
isolated.
The gate is wider for the Army, whereas the Marines is kind of like.
Yeah.
Well, it was crazy when I joined.
The herd goes through the same trough.
My recruiter.
This metaphor is taking a turn.
And my recruiter said, "Look, don't be surprised."
Go ahead.
He said, "Don't be surprised if when you're in the military. It's called MEPS, Military Enlistment Processing Station. If you're the only one going to the Marines." He said, "And when they call your name, because they say who you are, what branch you're going to, everyone's going to react." And sure enough, I was the only one that was going to the Marines. And they called my name because they call your name and then what branch, and then you go to your bus or whatever. And they said, Anthony Cheezum, United States Marine Corps. And everybody
went, Cheezum?
Yeah, they all reacted.
And he was right. Everybody's like,
so because it was harder.
It's because
the stigma of like, oh man, that's tough.
It's the stigma of insanity.
Yeah.
And there's kind of and it's true.
And weren't you between Army?
Mm-mm.
You were always Marine. You
Always
wanted to be
Marines.
Where
And
does
just because you thought this is the best, or
Yeah,
this is the
I wanted
toughest,
to
this is the
do- yeah.
hardest, I always want to go to the Marines.
where does Navy fall on the boot camp?
Now it's a lot easier. There was a time where it was always Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Air Force. Coast Guard's pretty tough, but Coast Guard's not always considered military because
Yeah, draft happens, run to the Coast Guard.
no, Coast Guard.
They have to they actually. It's tough in wartime for the Coast Guard.
Yep,
Like,
because they go from Homeland Security to Department of Defense during wartime.
They're like very,
Right.
very.
So sometimes they're sometimes they're not.
So when you're talking like entry level boot camp stuff, Navy's not at the top, but then like you get down the road and you start looking at like the SEALs and
Certain
stuff,
things,
and
yeah.
it's like
the Marines really respect corpsmen, which was your hospitalman. Actually,
My grandfather.
your grandfather.
Pop.
So we respect
He was a
corpsmen,
Marine, a Navy corpsman.
which we give them the same respect as if they were another Marine.
Yeah, well, the Navy is the Marines.
the Marines are a branch of the Navy.
Correct.
Yeah. The Marines, we say,
Marine. I mean, think about it. Marines. They go across the water.
which it makes no sense because we're air, land, and sea.
Yeah.
We're all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And the
it's,
Marines have their own Air Force, correct?
That's what they say. They say the Marines is a division of the Navy, and then the Marines always go, "Yeah, the men's division."
What's really cool is
the men's department.
you have the largest Air Force in the world is the U.S. Air Force.
Mhm.
Second largest in the world is U.S. Navy.
Navy's huge. Yeah.
Isn't that cool? And then third is like
Israel or something like that.
Yeah,
Israel's
it's
way
like
up
Israel,
there.
and then
yeah, Israel.
I think it's actually Russia and then Israel. But my point is, it's so cool that the number one's U.S. is the Air Force, and then second's the U.S. Navy, and then the Marines have their
Like,
own Air Force.
That's why we're back to
and
back
Army,
champs, bro.
Yeah, pop, pop.
all four branches have their own air capabilities.
I think that's pretty legit.
It's
Take
pretty
my
wild.
Texas, shovel it out.
Like we pick on air wingers though, like
dude.
so hard. Like,
Did you see that reel? It said, "I made $1,000 this week." He said, "No, you didn't. You made $600."
Right.
Like, wait, what? He's like, "Man, yeah, I made $1,000 this week. I'm rolling in the dough." You made $400. You made $600. And he's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yup, let's go." And he's like, "No," but it was just like, That's what happens.
Right.
Like, golly.
Yeah, I used to. What was what's Top Gun? What is that?
It's Navy.
That's Navy, dude. It's not even Air Force. It's a movie about jets. And it's not even the Air Force.
Yeah.
Lame.
What is
Dad, if you
Naval
ever listen to this, I'm
naval
not-
pilots are pretty legit.
that's
I know. I'm over here making fun of the Air Force, but my dad is the toughest guy I've ever met in my life. So
the
please,
Air Force. What is the? If there was going to be dogfights, was that happening more with the Navy or with just the Air Force?
Navy because that usually happens over water or in other countries where it's coming off aircraft carrier.
So the Air Force, U.S. Air Force, is just at home basically,
Well,
or
they-
setting up bases in foreign lands.
We
like
had we had
Afghanistan.
Air Force in Afghanistan.
Right.
But your dogfights and stuff, that's where your jets are usually coming from, or fighter jets is usually going to be Navy.
Man, I love
what about the Space Force? How are we doing on that front?
I laughed at
doing?
that initially, and then it started to make sense because the real
Eventually,
estate,
we're just gonna be blowing each other up with satellites.
well, then that's the deal. Like satellite real estate is really a thing,
literally does
especially
Death Star.
yeah. Like, you know
bro,
how we
that's
send
getting
our
wild.
people up to satellites and stuff like that. Well, they can send people up to our satellites too.
And there's gonna be like
And then we're gonna be fighting, bro. I did that in Call of Duty one time. What was it, in the campaign?
Oh yeah, I did not do good at that. I struggled with that one. I struggled.
So
with that one.
you made it through boot camp.
I was the scribe's assistant in boot camp, which doesn't even exist. But
The scribes.
it was weird. So you get
Carried all the pens.
yeah, like I'm not to get in too much detail because we'll talk about this with Dustin, but there's the guide and he's like the head guy out of the recruits.
Mm-hmm.
And Marine Corps boot camp's the only one where you do not get the title until you're done.
Right. Okay.
Everybody
yeah.
else, you're a soldier already. when
You're not a Marine until you graduate.
until you're done.
Yeah.
So there's the guide. He's in charge of like he's the high guy for the recruits. Then there's squad leaders, which is self-explanatory. Then there's the scribe, and he's the one who does all the logistics. Well, physically, I couldn't do the run. Like I could never do a good run, so I couldn't be a guide or a squad leader. But I checked all the other boxes. So my senior drill instructor put me as the scribe's assistant. So I had some authority, even though I couldn't do a lot of the as high level of physical stuff. So I skated on a lot of the stuff. I got all the perks of being leadership, but I didn't get punished when everybody else did.
Dang.
It was awesome.
This guy had it easy. Were you a full-blown narcissist when you got out of boot camp?
Oh, those drive me insane. I hate it. They give us a bad name. It drives me insane.
So my brother,
Narcissist and Marines.
yeah, my
What do they say? You don't have to ask a vegan,
They'll tell you.
a Marine,
oh no doubt,
or a CrossFitter. Yeah.
CrossFitter, yeah. My brother and another boy in our church,
Tweed.
Ryan, they both joined the Marines. They both came back, and I mean, they say it's the best shape they'll ever be in your life, and I'm like, whew. But
You talking about them?
Unimpressed.
whew, and I specifically
Your
remember.
buttons are
Consequently,
screaming, dude.
they came back with a $274 payment monthly as well.
Yeah, dude. My younger brother got back, and my dad was like, "This is the best shape he's ever been in his life." I was like, "It looks like he spent 3 months eating Pop-Tarts." I don't. But no, I'm just.
I want to send him this clip.
I'll send him this clip. But I do know that both of them, when they both got out, I mean separate because they didn't both join at the same exact time, but like they both came back, and I specifically remember like just like talking to them, and they hit you with the I'm a Marine, and I was just like, bro, I don't care.
Man.
But I preached a message on I remember I preached this message at our church called "What a Soldier Has." Right, and I start going through like his weapon, his his orders, his dog tags, all this, and I like spiritualized it as well,
Right.
And my brother, fresh out of boot camp, comes up, and I used him as an illustration in the message, and he walks up to me, I mean, as soon as service is over, and he's like, "I ain't a soldier," and I was like, I promise you, I went, "What?" He goes, "I'm not a soldier," and I go, "What are you talking about, dude?" He goes, "I'm a Marine." And then he went, and then he did like a 30-second spiel about the difference between Marines and soldiers. I did this and this and this and this, and I'm a Marine. And I went, oh, dude, man, I wish I cared enough.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, and then I was like, ultimately, you're still shorter than me, so
yeah.
Well,
TJ's never been like that. I appreciate that about him. You would, I mean, I like you wear your stuff and you like 2A and whatever, but he does.
there's a difference between.
He doesn't like. I'm a
you got
Marine.
bullets on your
Well, I mean, but there's a difference. There's a difference between being like, I'm a Marine, and I can be like, oh, well, thank you for what you did, and then like,
Well,
it's kind of like,
also
thanked me
he has
for my
quite a
service.
story over there, but we can't quite get to it. So let's get to that, TJ.
yeah.
Let's get to the boom boom.
I can make it
there is
parallel. I can
there's
make
a
it
lot.
parallel.
So
What?
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I'll tell you after.
it is the only time a normal person should get irritated about the whole Marine versus soldier is if already know. So
Right.
like if you know that if you're close and you know that a Marine holds the title Marine,
Right.
and you purposely call them a soldier to antagonize, that's different.
So it's like a pronoun thing.
But in general, when somebody says soldier, it covers all the branches, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
going to get upset about
Which
it.
I think
It
which I think is what his argument was when he brought it up.
and it's like who cares?
Right.
Whatever. So, but yeah, join the Marines. As soon as I get in, I go through School of Infantry after my boot camp, and that's another 11 weeks of, they call it the fourth phase of boot camp. Like no respect. They talk to you like you're nothing. Only difference is you say a rank instead of sir, which makes it even harder because you have to remember the rank and look at their collar to make sure. Like I sat there and just ignored a company gunnery first sergeant one time because the sun was behind him. All I saw was a shadow, and I walked past him. He's like, "Good morning, Cheezum." I'm like, "Right, first sergeant." but he was like super chill, like he didn't care. I'd already done 2 deployments by then, and
Yeah. My older brother said once you hit a certain point, nobody really.
yeah, it's not so bad unless you're one of those like you're touting your rank to hold it above somebody.
Like Zach Neath. I'm joking.
I graduated boot camp.
The ones that are generally overly motivated and overly, we call it moto, overly enthusiastic about it are the ones that didn't do anything. Like most infantrymen,
I can see that.
most infantrymen, especially if you deployed,
I can see that.
aren't the ones.
How about
that
Marine
Trust me,
Reserve? How about Marine Reserves?
I was going to say, trust me, Cheezum, that's not the military only.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
That doesn't.
Or if you get somebody that was picked on heavily, you could tell if somebody was bullied, and then they joined the Marine Corps because they didn't want to get bullied anymore. They carry that mentality for the rest of their lives.
Oh, dude, I got bullied a lot.
Including in leadership. And because I had people over me that I'm like, he totally got bullied in high school.
You guys are lucky I didn't go to the Marines then.
Yeah.
Because
we
I
all
mean,
are blessed that you didn't. There'd be no more wars, son.
the U.S. thanks you.
The man to end all wars. What's your middle name?
Matthew.
David Matthew Neath.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, David.
This guy.
TJ, I'm sorry.
Cheezum.
So yeah, anyway, so got through boot camp, went School of Infantry, everything went well. Went to Hawaii is where I was stationed.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough.
You lost your car.
Yep. And so the first full year, most units before your first deployment, a lot of times they don't want you to go off base at all. It's a maturity thing. Well, I was 21 when I joined. Most of my peers were 18. So I already had a leg up. One of my peers was actually 35. And you know, it was hard on him, obviously, but
what's the cutoff?
There isn't technically a cutoff, especially because they were trying to grow numbers. Okay. So because they were in the growth,
depends on the need.
The cutoff is supposed to be 35, but I know somebody that was 42 that joined. So yeah, imagine me at 42 in a squad bay with a bunch of 18-year-olds.
So I'm not even safe for like another 2 years. That's crazy.
What, for the draft?
For the draft, it's 25 or 26?
26.
Oh, I'm good, bro.
We both good.
I mean, you're 73, 74, whatever.
Oh,
I look good for it.
I can't eat gluten. I'm dying.
That's actually true. That would do it?
They put an allergy.
I did say if that draft happened, I legitimately, because I have no loyalty to this regime, and these politicians, and like I just would not feel right. Like, no, I would fight, but I would literally try.
You would do like they did in Vietnam
chaplain.
and just go clack, clack, clack.
I know a guy who hit a peanut allergy for Marine boot camp, and he made it till 2 weeks before graduation.
Almost killed him.
Yep.
I do think I would try and be a chaplain. I really do think. I think I could do better there. Like I don't know how.
So you'd go Navy then.
Yeah, I mean, I really would try and do that. Not because I mean, I really don't want to go take a bullet. Really, for what?
It's hard. Yeah, for what?
I mean, there is nothing in me that wants to go fight for Ukraine right now.
I mean, I'm a little bitter right now.
You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like this is, and I'm not going to go and have to call in. Can I shoot? And that's what you had to go through. Like even back then, Dustin did the same thing. I'm like,
rules of engagement, all this. Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna dodge the draft, but I do think that I would try and be a chaplain or something because it's just not worth.
Yeah, if it came to where they were drafting heavy and they started getting towards your age bracket, the best thing you can do is enlist.
Yeah.
That way you have an option.
Yeah.
Even then, there's so much.
David, the best thing I can tell you is go finish your degree. No, seriously, I have it.
Yeah. Well, even then, like, there's so much, like we said earlier, there's so much that has to happen before.
Yeah.
Like, that's even in the conversation.
Yeah, we're not.
Really.
Yeah, we're not anywhere near that.
I have no problem fighting for my family, but I just cannot get behind what this country is pushing. Now, of course, if we're getting attacked, like our nation's getting attacked, like let's go. Yeah. Boots on the ground, let's go.
That's where you get militia.
But when we're fighting all these foreign wars, now, I guess Israel, I can be behind that, like fighting for
support.
Israel.
Yeah,
support.
but it's not our war.
Right.
So you're stationed in Hawaii.
You're
more mature than your
debatable, but
your peers.
Yeah, because I didn't go out drinking every night. Now I was living in the world. That's when I was not doing great. So I did drink, I did smoke, and all that kind of jazz. But I wasn't the kind to every night go out and get drunk and run women and all that.
Couldn't afford it.
That just all my money was going towards college. But so what I did was I got an Xbox and I just gamed. And stuff like that. Instead of going out, I'd stay in, not spend any money, and just
I feel like that's typically how
lots of gaming.
Yeah, I feel like when I hear about people in the military, they have one of two extracurriculars, which is we're Wild Boys, or
Island Boys,
or I stay home and I play video games.
Yeah,
and I just chill. Like and there's really like almost as if there's like no middle ground there. It's either
there's very few. The ones that did were people like me. My best friend was a couple years older than me. We'd play video games and stuff, and we would enjoy Hawaii. So on base, you still had like some of the best beaches. So we'd go spearfishing, and we'd go fishing off the dock, and we'd go snorkeling, all kinds of stuff, and do what Hawaii had to offer.
right.
And a lot of people, like, there's a lot of guys that are like, man, I hated being in Hawaii. I'm like, well, why? Like, there's nothing to do.
all right.
Well, what did you do this weekend? Stayed in the barracks and got drunk. I'm like, well, no wonder you hated it. You'd hate anywhere.
Right.
All right.
Like, after my first deployment, I'd go up to the North Shore and hang out with the people, and just like, I never met somebody that I couldn't be friends with. Other people were coming home.
That's the truth.
People be coming home with their eyeballs busted open because they get in a fight every weekend and stuff. I'm like, dude, what are you doing to encounter this?
Maybe you're the problem. Did you think about that?
I've been here. By the time I was there for a little over 3 years, less deployments. Didn't run into one person that I didn't get along with. And they're in fights all the time with locals getting all like stitches in their eyes and stuff. Like,
I want to, get beat up by a Samoan.
yeah, like a Marine can pretty much take one.
Is that what they are, Samoan?
It's
Some are from Samoa.
it's like
What is the Rock?
he's Samoan, half.
He's half Samoan.
half Samoan, half black, I think.
Is that okay?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of Polynesian cultures collide right there in Hawaii, so you get a lot of it. A lot of Thai, lots of Thai, Filipino, Japanese. It's all mixed, but they're very.
The Waterman tribe.
There's never just one.
Right.
And you get a drunk Marine out there who thinks there's just one, starts a fight. And they used to say, we call them a moke. It's like a derogatory, it's not a cuss word, but it's a derogatory term. And it's like, the mokes will just grow out of the sidewalk because you'll start a fight with one and then there's like 6. It's like, you might be able to beat one, but you're not beating 6 of them.
Right,
That's no fun.
No. And I'm like, and Tito Ortiz actually hung out there like all the time. That's where he's from.
Right.
So, and I know of somebody that tried to get in Tito Ortiz's face.
Who's
He's
that?
the people's champ, man.
He was a legit UFC fighter.
Heavyweight champ.
He tore his neck up and
He
then
never fought me.
They called him the people's champ, I think is what they called him, because he wasn't, I might be thinking of the wrong guy, but he wasn't for a period of time he wasn't like the actual heavyweight champ, but he was he's the person who everybody wanted to be the champ.
Yeah.
So he was like
him and Rampage Jackson kind of got butted heads real bad and stuff.
My
like
brother
that.
fought Rampage Jackson.
Did he lose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean he fought Rampage Jackson?
While he was in the Marines, they were doing training.
Oh.
And they brought in Rampage Jackson and I forget who he said the other guy was. And they were doing like
sparring.
Yeah,
grappling's a big thing.
Sparring is a word. It's probably what it should have been. But basically, they were like Thomas, and he stepped up to fight Rampage Jackson.
Older brother.
Yeah,
and he has one gear, and it's go.
Yeah,
so probably hurt
Thomas. Nope.
Yeah, he said he had to. He said Rampage Jackson. He said one of them. He said 1-on-1 they were just running through Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were just like one guy like punched a dude and he looked and he laughed and then just knocked the Marine out. Like the Marine like was like boom and he's like it's just like
yeah, that's not good.
It's like it's funny.
Well, this like you're talking about
fighting force. Yeah, they're professional fighters.
Yeah. This.
I think that's a good idea though, having a professional fighters come in and fight your guys.
Dude, you're not as bad as you think you are. Sit down.
Yeah, of all the stories my older brother told me of him being in the Marines, that's like one of the coolest ones.
Yeah,
my older brother like swam against Michael Phelps in high school, fought against Rampage Jackson while he's in the Marines. I'm like,
how long did he last against a Rampage?
I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the. I mean, exact
obviously,
details,
you know you're going to get your butt kicked, but the goal is to just take a beating.
I think it's pretty much what the exercise.
All right, I'm going to take this well. I'm going to take a beating that he'll remember me taking, and it's not like the easiest beating he's ever given.
It's kind of like professional bull riding. You're like, I lasted 8 seconds. It's like,
man, he's a big guy.
Oh, dude, he's a monster,
huge.
dude.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
He's a monster, bro.
He's a little white boy beating up.
Bro, he's a monster.
How big's your brother?
My older brother, he's 6 foot. I mean, at the time he was jacked because he was on a boat and all they did was lift weights and train all the time. But he wasn't that big.
He's like 240 muscle, like unreal.
Dude, one of the funniest clips is he was in the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter house, and he was the coach.
Oh, the door.
And he got mad and he just walked through a door.
Tore it to pieces. Just got mad.
Instead of opening the door, punched a hole through the door, ripped the door in half, ripped it off the hinges, and then walked through the doorway.
There was some cheating going. It was the Ultimate Fighter TV show competition.
Yeah, dude, that dude is
and they were rigged and everything, and he could prove that it was rigged, and he just got so mad about it.
Dude, he's an animal.
But anyway, so some Marine was trying to start a fight with Tito Ortiz out in public.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And Tito's like, dude, just stop. You're drunk. Go away. Because you lose your license, your fighting license, if you fight
for sure,
outside of the ring. And he'd been through so much and knows and matured enough to not get irritated. Guy? No, Tito.
Oh.
If you find Tito Ortiz,
he had to retire. Big guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He had to retire because he had neck surgery. Mm-hmm. And he was supposed to fight Chuck Liddell and had to back out of the fight. So Rich Franklin ended up stepping in and beat him. I used to like a lot of
Rich Franklin. Was he the math teacher?
He's a bad looking dude too, man.
Tito?
Oh, yeah.
He's like no neck Tito. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
All right, TJ. We got 20 minutes.
I know. You keep sidetracking me.
I know. But it's good. It's good stuff.
So
this is what our podcast is.
Right.
Yeah.
So
how hard is this?
We'll condense it because we'll probably get more into detail if we ever end up with doing with Dustin.
Yeah. All right. So if we're gonna do a military thing with Dustin, why don't we skip ahead to you?
We'll do simple stuff.
The basics.
So Iraq was like a super chill deployment. Like it was. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot happening. We had one suicide bomb, killed my company commander, battalion commander, and another guy, and that was out of negligence.
His name wasn't Maciel, was it?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't sound chill.
No.
His name was Fascia.
I had a client text me wants me to fix their fascia
on the front of their.
I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll come fix your fascia. I didn't want to like correct it. The guy's with his wife standing right, and I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'll do
don't want to take his manhood in front of his wife.
It's just silent on the other end. You hear a body hit the ground. He died of shame.
You should have. Am I on speakerphone? Why don't you take me off speakerphone?
Spaceship Man. the face of it, like fascia.
So anyway, not a whole lot happened as far as like there was very little threat. Now you still have to take it serious as if there could be a threat because obviously it's possible. Iraq was a cakewalk. Came back and had the time between deployments, and where we had the shortest consecutive workups. So the rule, it's supposed to go 2 deployments and then 1 non-combat tour, which would be like float on the Mediterranean.
You're only supposed to do 1 though, right? Unless
Marines have shorter deployments.
No, my brother did 2 tours.
Mm-hmm.
Army was for a year, I think.
It's anywhere from 12 to 14 months.
And your first deployment was how long?
7 months.
Okay.
How long were you in?
4 years.
My brother did 6.
Oh, so he had a specialty job. Was he communications or something? What did he do?
Oh, I'd have to ask him. He
fought Rampage Jackson.
I remember. I was young when. Because there's an age gap there, but I specifically remember the day when he called to say he was re-enlisting.
Oh, so he did 2 enlistments.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it was one of those he re-enlisted after his first 3.
Yeah, I specifically remember that day.
It was like an extension. Yeah.
That was a bad day at the house. Because my mom was blindsided with that one. But
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It was one of the things where when he got home, he didn't like talking about things.
That can go both ways.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was like a...
What year was this?
This was right when everything popped off.
So early 2000s?
Yeah, this was...
How old your
Oh,
You're 33,
yeah, he's, I want to say 6 or 7 years older than me.
so he's a little older than you, TJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was when things popped off. He was like the hoorah, let's get in it.
9/11 stuff.
Yeah, it
And
was.
he
He
wanted
was
to-
let's get at it, and he did 2 tours. And like I said, like he came back a
He
changed
has
man.
some stories.
Yeah,
Early on, you didn't even have to be infantry to be exposed to a lot of stuff because there was no base.
right. He's adjusted. Like he's not like when he first came home, but like it was definitely like
There was some mental strain there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very common. But yeah, the rule is 2 deployments and then a float or a MEU or whatever, where you're out on a ship for an entire deployment. Well, our unit was I was 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, which is the most decorated unit in military history. All the major wars throughout, it's 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. I didn't do anything to get there. I was placed there, but it's still pretty cool history. Well, because of that, they were also a very effective unit. So instead of two deployments and then a rest deployment, it was 5 consecutive combat tours and only 9 months between them. Mm-hmm. So it was just cycling out. Some people, where their deployment landed, actually got 3 deployments in 4 years because of what time they got to the fleet. Mm-hmm. So it's very high up tempo and everything like that. So we do 9 months, go to Afghanistan. I was in the personal security detachment for the company commander, and this is where the Roman Empire comes in. My company commander, a call sign on the radio was Praetorian.
Oh, cool.
And we're like, sir, you know the Praetorians killed Caesar, right? He goes, yeah, but they were pretty cool before then. Because they got the job done. You know? And so we were Praetorian, and we were his escorts, but he is a go-getter. So he wanted to just go. Well, then we're a quick reaction force, and then we were also logistics run. So we were the most used unit also in the entire battalion. I was down because it would just go and go. I was lead vehicle driver and machine gun team leader and most of the time navigator. I was a little busy. So because of that, I hardly got to eat because my eyes are on the road. Mm-hmm. So I dropped all the way down to 150 pounds.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's not good for my frame. Like some of my buddies that hadn't seen me in a while, like from battalion, they saw me and like, dude, you're going to die. Because, I mean, it looked bad.
So there's a bunch of things that can take me.
Yeah.
I get that a lot too.
But
you're going to die. We all are, man.
So my squad ended up hitting 14 IEDs total.
You're just finding them all, huh?
Yeah. Well, so we had a dog, and
not good at its job, apparently.
To be fair,
we had a dog and then poof.
To be fair, we never hit an IED where the dog was.
Had a couple dogs.
Yeah. We had a dog. We had a pack of dogs.
It's just like Balto mush. It's just like
helicopter.
They were mush after the end of that deployment.
Dog burger.
You know, that'll be the thing. Us talking about dogs dying, that'll be the thing that gets us canceled.
But to be fair, we never hit an IED after the dog cleared it. And the dog did find stuff. But it was just, it's a human creature in the hot desert with 130 degree ground. The dog can't smell constantly. So unless you do have a whole team of dogs, you're just going to have to risk it sometimes. Right. And that's what happened. So we hit 14 IDs. I hit 6 of them.
TJ.
High score.
High score. Tickets. And one of them did not explode. My very first one actually didn't explode. Like we heard the blasting cap. We heard a tink. I'm like, what was that? And you could smell it. Like, smelled like gunpowder. I'm like, what was that? And my turret gunner goes, I think we just hit an IED. Well, the blasting cap went off and it didn't ignite the charge.
So you had to just hit it on the wheel, like you're rolling over it.
Well, or
is there a guy like hitting a?
There's several different types of IEDs. One's command, and a command IED is somebody there waiting. Kabloom. Another one is a timer, and they will track, and that usually happened in Iraq on paved roads. They see how fast you're going, and they'll have spotters, and then they'll set a timer based on how far you are away, and most of those would miss a direct
They're bad
hit.
at math.
Well, it would miss
They were very good at
It would
math.
miss a
The
direct
Iranian
hit.
math doesn't.
6 times.
Yeah,
They would miss a direct hit, but you've also got 4 or more vehicles going through, so the odd or the chances are they're going to hit something in that convoy.
right.
So
It's
even
kind of
if
like
it
a
doesn't- yeah, if it-
window
If
of
it doesn't hit
opportunity.
directly, it could still hurt a turret
Right.
gunner really bad or whatever. And it's not the IED that they tried to do the damage with, it's your reaction to the IED that makes you vulnerable. So that IED might disable something, and now they can come attack you while you're disabled.
Right.
So a lot of times that isn't the actual device.
So
that
they
do
try to
damage.
get the head car.
Or even if it's not something to stop the convoy.
Yeah.
Right.
But in Afghanistan, there were only a couple improved roads in the entire area. It's all dirt.
The Roman Empire hadn't been through.
No,
Yeah.
Seems like a nice place to take a vacation.
Right. Yeah. And so because it was
Sandy
dirt,
Yeah.
beach.
all the time. And because it was all sand and because it was constantly driven over, it was as fine as powder. We called it moon dust. So even though there's no moisture, your foot can still get stuck in it because it's so fine that the air gets trapped.
We should
It's
nuke it.
wild.
Just
And
delete it. Delete Afghanistan.
right.
Alt delete.
There's only a 5% literacy rate in Afghanistan. So every
Get the
95
cartographers, it's time to change the map.
95% of the people just believe what they're told.
Right.
So that's where the
So like
war-
America.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we talking about America? I don't know.
And so
You hit 6 IEDs. You got
I
to
hit
talk about
6.
this. What did that do to you? How good did it make you feel?
So the first one, like I said, it was a blasting cap. Didn't even feel it. We left. We're like, what do we do?
The fender bender.
Like, and we're like, well, we can't leave it there. And our explosive ordnance team was like a long way away. They're like, well, mark it, and we'll just make sure nobody drives around it until we can get somebody there. Not a big deal. Then after that is
I'd hate to be that team.
right.
I mean, why would you want to do that?
And they're very good at their job. But well, no,
Big suit. Now they're just walking up to it.
Because we know especially in Afghanistan, we know the devices, we know how they do it, especially in certain areas.
Can you stand back and shoot it?
Yes and no. The danger, if you just shoot it,
Give me the yes.
if you shoot it, nothing's going to happen. Your only option is to get far enough back and use your Mark 19 because it's a lob shot. So you're at more of a downward angle and it's an explosion that might set it off, or it might just sever the wire. And now you've got other problems because if you have a severed wire and you go to try to disarm it, now you don't know when those two
Right.
pieces are going to touch. So now you've made it more dangerous.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just poke it with a stick.
Yeah. How about we just put
really-
a cone on it and no one ever go there ever
Like-
again? Just
And then the others come and start moving the cones around.
That's how we lost the war. They kept moving our cones.
Just put a soldier there. Just, the army has plenty of guys. Just set an army guy there and just with a gun.
You put the stuff on the cones like they have in like fire alarms.
Yeah.
Like, let me look at your hands. Oh, you moved our cone.
What could you do with an alternate like way of just making sure?
Some guy standing out there with reflective vests on.
It's like you can buy this property, but there's 12 cones on it.
You just
You
don't
can get it
farm
for
around there.
you can get it for a steal, but no
Don't-
backyard.
Don't
Might not
plow
be
in
there
the-
next
The
year.
driveway pretty risky.
Well, I told you about the backyard thing, right? Where we found. Oh, you heard my podcast.
Yes.
I'm not going to plug that podcast on here, but when we were in Iraq,
TJ didn't do a bad podcast. He was on a podcast, Foxhole podcast. And those guys aren't saved, so they're going to use language or whatever. But they tried to respect TJ. He did a great job, but it's the world. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, TJ.
and there's one of my buddies was on a patrol, and this guy's like, "Hey, can I have my backyard back?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I haven't been able to farm for like years." What had happened was Saddam Hussein had buried 52 metric tons of uranium in a concrete encapsulated egg. We called it dragon's egg. And it was like a foot underground. So this guy could.
Like he didn't even dig it deep. He was just like, yes.
So this guy couldn't plow because there wasn't enough depth.
It's like Nate Bargatze's hole bit. He's like, have you ever tried to dig the hole? It's probably the hardest thing you'll ever try to do in your life.
Found all the time.
He's like kill the person, and they're like, man, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. This is that'll do. Looks fine to me.
Harder than killing the person.
Move some leaves over it.
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life.
It's like, I understand why bodies get found all the time. You're like, that's good enough, right? It's just.
But anyway, so it was crazy burying stuff in the yard. It wasn't a bomb, but I think it might have been worse. But yeah, so after the blasting cap situation, we were just on patrols all over the place. And so the first IED I hit was because my company commander wanted to go a certain way. I'm like, sir, that's not the way to go. He's like, we ended up having to go up on this. It's called Route 515, the deadliest road on earth.
Yeah. He's like, it's not my spine.
We just went up and did a U-turn, and the U-turn is where we got blown up. Like, I've got pictures.
And you told him, you're like, hey man, this is not a good idea.
Yeah, I'm like,
you're like Paul,
like this Platorium or whatever.
Praetorian. Well, he was navigating, and
This was Mr. Gung Ho.
Yes.
Oh,
and no,
that tracks.
Now I will say he was a legit
6 times.
He's like great company commander, but this one time doing the navigation, he just got a little crossed up and didn't realize where we were. And we had to do a U-turn on this deadly road. And that one spot we went up to do the U-turn,
golly,
bam.
Could you not pull a Hey Siri? Hey Siri, and it goes, hold on, Michael.
And it hurt. It always hurts. But I didn't even get the worst of it. He is only like 5'6", and his head bounced off the ceiling of the MRAP, and it's bleeding out of his ears and everything like that.
Oof.
But my knee.
Little Napoleon.
Right? My knee went up under the steering wheel, though, and where my leg hit the steering wheel, this part of my legs kept trying to travel. That's where my knee injury came from after I'd already had a knee surgery before even my first deployment. And so then after that, I think it was very shortly after that, I hit another one.
Oh, gosh.
And then I hit 2 in an hour. That one really
Why
hurt.
did you keep driving the first truck?
Because I was, contrary to what now seems like popular belief, I was the best driver. I had a mine roller.
Who's saying you're not now?
Because I kept hitting IEDs. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand that. I thought you were saying like it's all over town.
I mean, they're in bad shape.
I thought you were saying everyone in Harrington saying TJ, don't let him drive. Contrary to popular opinion, he's awful.
When your best driver finds 6 IEDs, dude. Everybody else is in some bad shape.
Yeah,
but I mean, and that's the hard part is, I mean, they are really good at hiding them. My company hit 673, or my battalion. 673 IDs and found just as many more.
Oh my goodness,
it's unreal. But because
how often did people, like, how effective are they? Like, are they killing a lot of Marines, a lot of soldiers, or?
So this is crazy. This is a story that came out after I left. There was an Australian reporter that was embedded and actually interviewed some Taliban, and they talked about all these different forces, and the Taliban said that they didn't think Americans could be killed.
What?
Well, they never saw a body.
Yeah.
We always took care of them.
Right.
So
yeah, you just didn't leave them out there, stripped them out of their clothes, and left them out in the desert.
They never had a chance to see them because everybody went straight in a body bag. They never actually saw a body.
And then came back to Delaware.
That's discouraging for them.
And
that's why they were setting so many.
And so they thought,
what are we doing?
They thought they were taking us out of the fight, but not killing us. So they got really good at their targets were more equipment. They knew that the more equipment they could take out, the less we could do our job. Like my company lost 52 trucks in the first month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then turns out we just left them 100 billion
particles
of equipment.
We just gave it to them all anyway. So.
Yeah, and then they just attacked Israel with it all.
Yeah, and without going to we'll go into detail with some other. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're very primitive. They're not very good at what they do, so theirs was quantity over quality. Mm. So a lot of times they would obviously miss or something wouldn't happen, and a lot of it's directional. Like say this is a vehicle and this is the road. Say they put an IED right here, but they'll put the pressure plate over here. So they know that by the time your tire hits the pressure plate,
it's in the center of it.
It's in a vulnerable spot. Well, sometimes, or they try to base it on.
That's so tough. Like, it's not even the pressure plate isn't even where the IED is. I have no idea. That's crazy, man.
Hey, and you can tell when they try to.
It's a Vietnamese jungle warfare.
It is. And you can tell when they try to guess the direction of travel and what vehicle, because your distance is going to be different based on vehicle. Like the first one I hit, it did so much damage because it hit the front of the vehicle and lifted it up. But you can tell it was trying to hit a Humvee traveling the other direction. So because I hit it the way I did, it blew the front of my truck up, but it lifted it up, and that's what did all the damage, where normally they want to hit center mass where the troops are. So blowing off the front of a truck's really not doing a whole lot of damage other than the truck.
You ever think about putting a pillow at the top of your cab?
And actually, they did. That's why we won. I don't know.
There actually is. There's foam this thick on the inside.
Is there really?
Yep.
Wow.
And the Humvees don't have armor.
Like, who's sitting in the office and is like, we're getting blown up a lot. How about we put some foam? Like,
it was this commanding officer who got
it sounds like a joke, but that's crazy that they actually would do that.
The first one went off and his commander's bleeding out of his ears. He's like, I got an idea.
You think that's metal on the top? No, literally styrofoam.
Yeah, he's like, hold on a second. Something just came to me.
I got a headache, but let me. I don't want to lose this.
Let me write this down before I forget.
They actually repaired that truck, like, because I've got a picture on here. I'll try to find it while I'm talking, but they blew the whole front, the engine compartment up real bad, and they were able to send it out and rebuild it. So then I got it back, and when I got my truck back, you could still see the ring where his helmet had hit the ceiling.
That's pretty funny
because it like embedded the dirt in the dust into the ceiling. It was pretty crazy.
Seems dangerous.
A little bit. It's not a good way to make a living.
So 6 times, and then you're on disability. Like, you mean, there's a lot of things you can't do because.
Oh, there's my squad and our dog.
Let me see how skinny you were. Give it to me. See what one? Oh, was this? Had you bulked up by now?
Oh no, that was probably at my skinniest. See if you can figure out which one's me.
I bet I will. The one with hair.
Yeah, I don't have much hair now.
I don't think it's the guy next to the dog.
He is the dog.
That is a good buddy of mine. He was one of the only guys that was older than me. He's like 2 years older than me.
How old were you in all this?
When that happened, I was 24.
Just a baby. My goodness.
But a lot of the guys, I mean, it was their second deployment. They were only 20 years old.
I gotta be honest with you, it's really hard for me to figure out which one.
Quit messing around. Give me the phone.
I'm trying to make a guess, man.
Well, here, let's turn it sideways.
Be a man and give up.
Huh?
Landscape it.
Quit you like men.
All right,
landscape the picture. Pull down from the top and hit the landscape button and turn it sideways. That's pretty bad.
Hey, Cameron, why don't you quit?
Oh, I don't have the landscape button pushed.
I think it's the guy next to the dog.
The black guy?
Yeah.
He just got out of prison recently.
Oh, that's
it's this guy right here.
Stumbled into that story.
Right there.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Even then, my healthy weight was about 190. I was 150 there.
I mean, it doesn't.
Oh, I forgot you were 150.
Very skinny.
Okay.
I see your smolder now.
Yeah, I see your smolder.
I had to keep looking at you.
Huh.
And was it these? Oh, I don't have them. I had those glasses.
It looks like a man who's paying $274 a month for his college.
Yeah. He said he couldn't eat because he was watching Rona. He couldn't eat because he was paying off his scams.
that guy that I said went to prison because he built fake bombs and did bomb threats and then punched a cop. Yeah, he's always
punching a cop's a sure way to make sure you just.
He had some authority issues even in the Marines.
Want to go to prison? Whoop-pow.
He punched one of my. He was a guy senior to me, but told him like get up and. With some profanities because we were all told to go unload the trucks, and I shouldn't have mentioned his name, but that's okay. And he was watching a DVD and he didn't want to get up, and finally the other guy went to him and cussed him out, saying get up, and in one motion went from laying prone on his face to getting up and punching him and splitting his nose open.
Good night.
Like he's.
I can bleep the name, by the way.
Speaking of illegal things, Logan told me today of a meme, and it said, turns out drunk driving is still illegal even for the birthday boy. I just found it so
Buzzkill.
Even for the birthday boy.
It's so stupid, but it's like even for the birthday boy, it's having a good time.
Now that we're off topic, you derailing this train, but
Keep going.
no, like I
Tell us
I hit
how
5.
you came to Christ, your second round to Christ
Well,
after all this.
well, one little last fun fact
Yeah,
about
you're
that
good.
deployment.
We're only an hour and 40 minutes in.
Right,
Keep going.
yeah. The I hit out of the entire battalion, I hit the only IED that was underwater.
Huh?
So there's
What are you doing in the water, man?
He's an overachiever.
You
right.
can't even see in the water. Send the
So-
dog in there.
So yeah, like a dog can sniff through water. I drown the dog trying to sniff. So they and especially in the summer they have irrigation canals and they run right through the roads and everything. And so there's a canal right through the road and we're like, probably shouldn't drive through that.
But you did anyway.
No. I drove off to the side and they still had put one there
That's what they
because
thought.
they
thought you were
assumed we
Oh,
wouldn't.
dude.
Like-
TJ, be better, man.
Yeah, bro.
and
They're
that's the
playing
one
chess. You playing
Yeah,
checkers.
David.
That's the one that hurt the most.
David said, shouldn't drive through. Oh, should have driven through there.
Yeah.
And I had a
You would
mind.
have ended up just like you because you
Right.
just already did it.
Man, I wish I could find.
I would
those
have been like,
pictures.
he was like, man, we shouldn't drive through that. That would be fine.
And it was crazy because the dog had gone through there. Of course, didn't get anything. And why isn't this? Where's my option? Usually it has the thumb thing. The metal detector couldn't pick anything up because they scanned and everything, even with the metal detector, before I went through, seeing if maybe it would pick it up.
Dog didn't find it. Metal detector didn't find it.
TJ found it.
But TJ's gonna find it.
Yeah. Man, I lost my old Facebook and it had the pictures on it. I'll get them from somebody else.
And then today I'm on
man-
scaffolding watching him walk, and he steps on a round roller thing, twists his ankle,
Oh, it was
completely
bad.
wipes out. It's like, if there's something to be stepped on,
Oh, yeah.
TJ's
This
gonna
man's-
find it.
Still finding landmines.
This man's out here playing real life Minesweeper.
It literally swept him off his feet today. He went,
Oh man, it hurts so bad.
boom! He just hit the dirt, and then he get my saw out of the trailer, and he hit the little.
The thing,
His foot got hooked on
so
a lock.
I had a hole in my
He
shoe.
just goes boom into the dirt.
I had a hole in my shoe, and the little clamp on his trailer that holds the cable has a bolt sticking out of it, and the bolt went inside of my shoe hole, and my foot just got stuck while I'm carrying his very expensive saw. Boom!
TJ, I love you so much. I'm
But,
sorry. It's just funny.
But yeah, hit the only ID in the water. Apart from my mine roller,
You hit all the potholes in
Right.
the road now.
He made
I made
half
the
of them.
potholes.
I was supposed to say like
And so that one hurt the worst though. Like I had a headache for like 5 days after that one. But yeah,
I guess so.
I got multiple concussions before it could heal. So that's why the government pays me for my memory loss. Like it never healed. Like because it was so many stacked on top of each other. The next damage was done, and my neurologist took a picture. He's like, "You've got very bad traumatic brain injury," and he's like, "If it gets better, it'll take at least 2 years, but there's a chance you'll never get it back." And I haven't. So I have sometimes attention issues, but memory loss issues and stuff. So I try to mitigate that and manage it as best I can.
I don't think anyone could tell. I mean, you do great. I've never thought one time you forgot something.
But you
I've
should-
worked with you a long time.
You should have seen how it used to be, though.
Yeah.
Like I was not like Rain Man, but I was that guy that could remember everything.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could give me a list of 10 numbers
Uh-huh.
to cut material, and I'd get every one of them right. I mean, it was, but it is what it is. It's frustrating. It's caused some, fits of rage, just because it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I've gotten used to it over the years, so I just.
I'm the opposite. I forget everything. I told Cameron I was gonna bring this tripod,
Maybe
and I
you should
forgot
hit
it. And I had to go back and get it.
You should hit an IED.
You have an excuse.
Yeah,
to get it back.
And then get something.
Yeah, dude. Ugh.
But so anyway, post military, I married my wife Katrina, but before then I had kind of a I don't know if it was about a depression or what it was, but it's like everything in my emotions turned off instantly. to where I didn't care about anything. I didn't have, I mean, I never had a thought of suicide or anything like that, but everything, all joy turned off. I wasn't upset, but I wasn't happy. It was just blank, nothing. And I went to the head doctor there at the VA in Cambridge. She's just a social worker, but she's like convinced me to make a list of things that I used to enjoy and do them anyway, whether I enjoy them or not. And it was a whole bunch of them. And one of them was going to church because I used to.
One of them was paying off college.
Was it once a big part of your life that you enjoyed giving away $273 a month?
I did enjoy college.
And
I enjoyed it so much I paid for it after I left.
Right.
I said, might as well run it back.
I just reminisce on it for, a couple $100 a month. So she gave me a list. It was like 12 different things of no matter what, do them. And it was my tasks, my homework for the next 3 weeks or whatever. And it was to go fishing. And if you can imagine, I didn't even want to go fishing. And it's me you're talking about. It was to go fishing.
TJ fishes on his lunch break. Just about every lunch break, we're working at the beach, like at
close to a river
the bays
or whatever.
and rivers or whatever. So yeah, he like has a fishing pole in his truck all the time.
And I had no desire at all. No fishing, no softball, no bowling, because I used to do bowling leagues, nothing.
TJ left the job one time and called me. He went back home, 30-minute drive, and called me on the way back and said, hey, you want some shrimp? And I'm at the job, I'm like, no, what? No, TJ, what? I'm like, I want some shrimp? What are you talking about?
I had gone home. I had, Sam's Club had this deal.
Just starts frying shrimp and then comes back with a Tupperware thing full of shrimp. I'm like, what is this guy? What in the world?
I wanted shrimp for lunch, and I'm like, let's cook some more.
It's so funny. Go. Anyways, keep going.
But, so one of the things that, like, I did everything, but one of the things was to go to church. And so we went to a local church that I won't name that really didn't have much substance.
Like my preaching.
There you go. Except for this one often preaches health, wealth, and prosperity.
Like my preaching.
They have
all of us represented.
The church does have a softball league that we were kicked out of.
Yeah, it does.
And we went there a couple times and we enjoyed it, but it's like there's really no personality to it or anything like that. And we went back to Nazarene Church, but that was mainly to say hi to Pastor Paul. And he saw me and he's like, he stopped his sermon right in the middle and he apologized to everybody. He's like, I'm sorry, I just saw a blast from the past. And just really excited because I hadn't seen him in years, and he knew I had fallen out and everything. And then we were at Apple. We went by. It wasn't Apple Scrapple. It was. We had been asking if somebody could cater to Emily, my autistic stepdaughter, while we're at church, and no other church could do anything because they didn't. They had youth programs and all this, and my wife actually treated Mackenzie.
Yeah. So when Mackenzie was in chemo.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
She was her physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so is that where the connection was?
So Kenzie started inviting Katrina to church.
Yep. And
okay, cool.
And so Katrina's like, said the deal, and Mackenzie's like, well, how about this? You bring her by Saturday, which we didn't know prayer meeting or anything was happening. I don't even know if you had started prayer meeting on Saturdays at that point. Yeah. But I think she just got done cleaning the church because Alyssa was there and stuff like that. That's when I thought Alyssa was like 14.
Right. She's 27.
Yeah. She was literally like 20, 21 when I thought she was like, but and she wanted to meet Emily and then say, hey, this is what we're gonna do when during the service. And Mackenzie took her on by herself so that we could sit in church, and that's that made an impact to where we wanted to come back, because we were only able to come to church every other weekend when we didn't have her. And it just, there's hard to get any. And then that's when I kind of started recovering, because I'd broken up with Katrina. Like, we weren't even married, but I'd broken up with her and kind of got back with her as I was kind of recovering. And she was patient and waited through it all. And then that's when it kind of brought me back to, because I was already saved, I was baptized, and I was leading a pretty good Christian life before I fell out because there was no structure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then coming to the church, I'm one that I can take hard preaching, thick skin and all that stuff. And same thing with my wife, because she's got her own story to tell. And so it just landed with us. Like, I don't care if you sugarcoat it. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. And we were able to learn fast enough to where we got in pretty quickly. And shortly after that, I guess it was maybe 5 months after that, my wife got saved. Because we were living out of living together, living in sin and all that kind of stuff. So we lived together. And when I got my life right, that made things really difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And it made her frustrated. And then she got saved and things kind of changed. And then so
got married in the church.
And as soon as she got saved, your dad was like, I think he might have told you or told your family, like, they're going to get married now.
He said, we'll see. We'll see if it's real, because they're going to be getting married. If she did get saved and they're both saved and they want to move on with the Lord, they'll be getting married. And it was like weeks. They were like, hey, so
we ready to fix this?
It wasn't quite that quick because it was in November.
It felt like it. I just must be remembering it.
It was exciting. I mean, I bawled my eyes out, and I know exactly what day it was, and I know why it was, how long it was, because we had gone to Arlington that morning. Every Veterans Day, I go to Arlington, and that day it landed on a Sunday, and so we went to Arlington Sunday morning, and then Sunday night is when she got saved. And I think God was in it. And I don't want to drag this on too far. When we went to Arlington, there's a thing you do with people that are buried. It's a penny if you knew who it was, a dime if you served with them, a quarter if you were with them when they died in combat. Well, only one guy was there that I served with, and I knew him really well, but I wasn't there when he died because he took his own life. But because he was an officer, he was still buried with the officers at Arlington. So I would leave a dime on his headstone. I reached in my pocket. I had no change at all. No jacket, no nothing. My wife's like, I don't have anything. She puts her hand in her jacket pocket, and there's a dime.
Wow.
She doesn't carry money or change or anything, and it goes in her wallet. And I'm like, that's a God thing. Yeah, that was like a little nugget of God saying, hey, I got you.
Yeah, amen.
And that night is when my wife got saved. And I think that might have clicked with her that, as insignificant as things may be, he cares.
Amen.
And so it was really exciting. And then that was, like I said, it was November 11th. And then we got married at the end at the beginning of March, beginning of April. It was March 31st. Yeah. And then we took our little honeymoon at the beginning of April. Yep. And then we had our sweet baby girl a little over a year later.
Eliza.
It was not a shotgun wedding. So.
Well, yeah, good stuff, man. TJ's a blessing to our church. And his family's a blessing. So, I appreciate you being on here, man. Thank you for
thanks
serving.
For having
thank
me.
You for,
thank you for service.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for your support.
Yeah. No, we'll have you back on when Dustin's here. We'll talk about. I like talking about military stuff, but when someone's here who knows more about it, I'm better at like commenting with, not leading, because I
didn't do it. Neither did he. Didn't do it.
And he'll tell you something. He'll probably tell you the same thing. Anybody who serves that legitimately cares respects anybody in any other branch.
Yeah. Because
they took a minimum of 2 years, because Army, you can do 2-year contracts, but a minimum of 2 years out of their life to stop their life and go do something bigger than them. Unless you live in Delaware and go to Dover, because that doesn't count. That's just you now have a place that you don't have to pay rent for. Right. That's really all that is. Right. But no matter how small, every job helps the whole big wheel turn. So we respect it, and we know that not everybody can be infantry. So
yeah, you want to give the gospel?
Sure. So the Bible says. Oh, got some music to it. That whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So, I'm living proof that it doesn't matter where you are, where you're from, what you've done. Like, I have a story. Cam knows my story. I've done some very, very bad things. Not as bad as Paul, and even Paul ended up writing most of the New Testament. It doesn't matter where you're from. You're never too far from the love of Jesus if you realize that he died for your sins, realize that you're a sinner, and realize that under his own power he raised from the dead the third day. There is no other religion that can say that, and there's no other religion where the God that they worship individually cares about their servants. We serve a big God, and if anybody listening to this ever needs to hear or needs to talk to someone, do not hesitate. It will be the best choice you've ever made in your life.
Amen. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Episode 73, right? That was it? No, 74. 74.
Oh, yeah.
Catch us next week. Send us an email. Let us know if you like TJ. And if you didn't, don't say anything. But,
I've got thick skin. I don't care.
Look, email in. Let us know you listened. And love you guys. Thanks for listening. Calm down.
It's fine.
fine.